Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is Kirsten here, and this is a Better Way with Kirsten podcast. You might be watching this right now on YouTube, in which case, please leave this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet. And if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, there you can follow the show and you can also leave me a rating and a review. If you could do that, it would be super awesome because that will help me to reach more people and more people can get help. On this podcast, we're talking about chronic sensations and chronic symptoms, chronic pain in the body. And these sensations sometimes are not actually caused by anything physical. Of course, your symptoms are very physical. And I definitely don't want you to say, like, oh my God, she's telling me that I'm making this stuff up. And absolutely, this is not the case. But what I am saying is that sometimes these pains and other uncomfortable sensations in the body may not have a physical cause. And how do you know that? Well, you have been to many healthcare practitioners, doctors, chiropractors, physical therapists, and so on. And nobody has been able to truly help you. They have tried one thing and then other thing and another thing, and they have run several tests and labs, and there's been x-rays and manipulations and diet changes and all that, and nothing has helped. And the other thing is that a lot of times these health professionals, they don't have one answer. They can't kind of come to agreement. Everybody's like, no, I think this is it, and the other person's, no, I think it's that. And nobody knows what's truly going on, and your symptoms or your pain are just really weird. They're like, I don't know why you're having this. And so you keep going back to different treatments, but you're not getting help. So if this is the case, you're not getting better, then maybe you're dealing with TMS, which basically is a condition where these symptoms, sensations, and pains are coming from your nervous system. Your nervous system is dealing with a lot. Maybe you are constantly stressed out. Maybe you haven't expressed your emotions. One thing that I really believe in. Maybe you just live in a constant state of stress. You're super hard on yourself. Pay attention to that one because putting a lot of pressure on yourself is definitely one big thing that is also causing these problems. And a lot of people, when they hear about it, at first they're skeptical, or they might say, oh, yeah, I think, I've heard that people get like sore muscles when they are stressed out, but my pain has been chronic for like 6 years and it can't be my case, right? I know what it's like when I'm like a little stressed and my neck gets a little bit sore, or like I believe that it happens to other people, but it can't happen to me. Well, let me tell you, it can very easily happen to you. And if this sensation truly is chronic, it hasn't gone away in couple of months, it's kind of abnormal how long it's lasting, then really look into this work that I'm sharing on this podcast. So I'm sharing a lot from my personal experience. I also have had chronic back pain for so many years, but I am almost over it. So I'm really confidently saying this right now. I'm doing a lot better. Of course, I'm having ups and downs myself too. Some days are harder and other days are much easier, almost completely pain-free. I'm getting there. I'm super pumped to say that. It's been a long, long journey. And what I'm sharing with you on this podcast are the tools that have really tremendously helped me. If you know the basics of TMS, then we're not going to talk about the basics today. But the basics basically means that, there's nothing physically wrong. You can stop going to doctors. You can stop treating it. You have to go back to your regular life, normal life, and your pain will a little bit, a little by little start going away. So this is definitely true. You have to resume and go back to your normal activities and let go of that fear, because as long as you're terrified and still booking all these appointments, then the pain is going to be around. But on to this episode today, specifically, we're talking about becoming more expressive and also how that can help you to overcome your chronic pain or another sensation. And more specifically, we're going to talk about why it's important that you are having these hard conversations that you've been really afraid to have. Now, this is one of the things that a lot of people are so afraid of. Talking to other people, telling them what's actually bothering them. Let's say that you have a problem with somebody and you just cannot bring it up. And what does it do inside you? Well, sometimes it makes you people please. You have an opinion about something, you want to express it, but you think, oh, this person is not going to like it, so I'm going to do it their way. however that other person wants, because I'm not going to share my opinion. It's just too dumb. Who am I to say anything? And so when you do that, when you are doing what others want, or you think that others want, you're pushing your true nature down. You're pushing down what you truly want and need. And today we're going to talk about hard conversations. Sometimes you need to have a difficult conversation with somebody that you really, really love a lot, but you are so afraid to do it. And what I want to tell you today is that you really have to start practicing this and start having these conversations, even if they are very, very hard. Because if it is a good relationship, it can handle it. And we want to have honest relationships, right? And so now when you start bringing these problems up, something that's bothering you in your relationship with another person, you are strengthening your confidence. You are speaking up more. And that's how you stop pushing yourself down. You're actually becoming more expressive. And actually, you're also becoming more honest. And that's why, even though this connection may not seem very, very direct to you, like, oh, I had this hard conversation, how's my back pain going to go away from it? Well, it may not go away from this one incident alone. But the point here is that the more you practice being honest and speaking up, the more you are bringing out the true self of you, and the more you're honoring yourself, and the more confident you get. Confidence is a really big thing in recovery, a confidence in yourself that you feel like, I am a worthy person. I can speak my mind. I can express my emotions. I'm not so terrified of somebody not liking me because I know my true worth and value, right? Your worth and value is not depending on anything external. And if you have a hard conversation with somebody and they don't like it in the beginning or not at all, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or that you have to, go hiding, or next time you're not going to bring a problem up anymore. It doesn't mean that. You're always a worthy and valuable person, and you have to keep that in mind too when you are having a conflict with somebody or you need to bring something up to another person. So it is super important. And I hope that you can see how little by little, when we start practicing it, how much it changes the level of confidence in you. Like you become a person who's like, no, this is my opinion. I can express it. I don't have to be like mean or rude or bitch about it. But it is my right to express if I don't like something or there's a problem with another person. It's okay that I talk about it because I don't want to keep pushing myself down and leaving this impression that I'm okay with what they're doing. So sometimes it is, of course, setting boundaries. It's very, very, very big thing for people who have TMS. They are just not able to set any boundaries, and they just let people walk over them. It's so common because they don't feel like that they matter as much. So they're like, I'm going to do what other people say. I'm going to let them do what they need, even if it's so hard for me, even if I feel exhausted and drained. I'm still going to do what they want. I'm not going to set any boundaries. Or if they do set any boundaries, then they start feeling excessively guilty for, oh my God, I shouldn't have. Now, what if they don't like me anymore? So there's big fear of rejection. But we have to start doing it because, like I said many times already, this is how you build confidence and this is how you are true to yourself. You may have heard the expression abandonment, self-abandonment. So this is essentially what you're doing when you don't take care of your own needs. You always say yes to everybody. You let people treat you poorly. So you are abandoning yourself so that you can make others happy. And this type of stuff really starts bothering you because don't think that your emotions and your mental state are different from your body. It's actually all the same system. And what you are feeling and how you are thinking, this comes out in your physical body. So now if you constantly push yourself down, don't set any boundaries, say yes if you want to say no, this starts coming out as physical sensations and symptoms. It is so, so common. You can look up, for example, Gabor Mate. He has talked about it so much. He has talked about, how people who suffer most, like with their physical health, are the people, like a lot of women who have never said no to anything, and who have like dedicated their lives to helping others and being there for others and doing everything for others. And they are the ones who actually end up with worst health outcomes. So this is super important. And like I said before, like one part of, getting stronger in yourself and building more confidence is having hard conversations with people that you care about, that you truly love. And let's say that you have a situation with somebody that you're really close with. Maybe it's your mother or your father or your husband or your wife or best friend or sister, brother, like anybody. And this is a difficult situation for you. Let's say that something is bothering you a little bit. You're like, I really don't like this, or what they're doing is causing certain emotion in me, and I don't feel at ease about this. Something's really bothering me. So I feel like I want to let them know about this. I want to have this conversation. But then you go, no, who am I to say anything like this? I really shouldn't be, really shouldn't bring it up. What if it's not going to go well? And I think that at the core of it is truly fear of rejection, especially if you're somebody who maybe in your childhood experienced something like that. Maybe one of your parents left, or you got kicked out of a friends group or something like that. You had this experience of rejection or even abandonment. Then this can really show up in your life now to the same fear. And let's say that you have this hard conversation with somebody, and at the core, like why you don't want to bring it up, why you're so scared, is actually that you may think that, what if they're not going to like me anymore? What if they think that she's totally dumb for even thinking this thing or talking about this, and they don't want to be with me anymore? What if they're going to like somebody else? Like things like that are probably somewhere deep in your mind, and that's why you don't want to don't want to talk about it. So decide that, what, I'm not going to bring it up. It's okay. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I've always dealt with the same thing, and it's been fine, although it really hasn't, because your body's hurting. So you may be thinking that I'm not going to do it this time either. But I really want you I really want to encourage you to still bring the problem up and have this conversation. And there are a couple of reasons why it's a really good idea to have difficult conversations, and why you have to start practicing it. Well, the first one is that you're actually going to feel better. You're going to feel better when you bring it up, even if it's so hard to do at the moment. Even if when you have, decided, okay, I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to bring it up, you're like, okay, let's do this. And then you open your mouth and you're like so scared, because it can feel really, really terrifying. You might be full of anxiety. You might be like, oh, how is this going to go? Right. But when you do it, actually you get relief. You feel like something got lifted off your chest. And of course, you're going to present this thing kindly, right? You don't have to like go yelling at other people, or, like bursting things out like that. You're going to present whatever is bothering you. You're having a normal, healthy adult conversation. And you're going to feel, oh, this was actually good. I'm glad that I talked about it. And you feel this relief. Like I said, you're going to have like something lifted off your chest. And also, you're going to feel a little bit like proud of yourself. You really will feel proud of yourself, especially if you've never truly done this before, or if it has like been like a big, big trouble for you. You're like, oh my God, I actually did it this time. And let me tell you, it's going to be a little bit easier the next time when you have to do it. It's never going to be very comfortable that, oh, it's so cool that I have this difficult situation. Like, let's talk about it. How cool. It's probably never going to be like this. It's always going to be a little bit like anxious situation. But if you already have a little bit of experience, you've tried a couple of times and it has gone well, and it likely will go well, because this is the person who are talking to, probably a person that you have a really close relationship with. You're going to feel very proud of yourself, and you're going to feel like, yeah, I'm adulting here. Like, really, this is how it was for me when I was like, oh, I'm doing this adult thing. I'm bringing up problems. I'm bringing up things that bother me. And, I discussed this thing and nothing terrible happened. So one reason, like I said, is you're gonna get it off your chest and you're gonna feel so much better. You're gonna feel better, almost like physically lighter. And then the second thing why you're gonna feel better is that you gain this confidence. You see, like, oh, I did it. You're like really proud of yourself. And that's super helpful. Like every time you do it, you become closer to the person that you're meant to be, like your true self. And the other reason why it's actually really good to bring up this conversation is that if the other person can handle it, which he or she very likely will handle it because she cares about you, your relationship with this person is gonna get stronger. These things really bring people closer together because now you have been honest, you have been vulnerable, you've been more open than is comfortable for you at the moment. But because you were open and because you were honest, the other person will respect it, and you're going to have a conversation, and it will bring you two closer together. If it's somebody that, who cannot really handle it, and I don't know, goes like yelling at you and like loses their temper, well, that's on them. But at least you were honest and you presented what you had to say in a kind way. So you did everything right. But I would say most of the time it's going to go well, and the other person is going to respect it and going to be happy that you shared. So I just had one of these situations recently, and just also went through the same steps, feeling from like, oh, should I bring this up? I kind of don't wanna, because, and to me it was like what I'm thinking, like what my fear is around this, it's just so stupid. I was kind of like judging myself. And do I bring it up? Like, am I gonna sound like totally stupid? So I had all these things going on my mind, but then I decided that it's gonna be harder for me to keep it in than it is to let it out. And I brought this thing up with the other person, and it was scary. It was like, oh, do I really want to do this? But I decided that I do want to do this. And it went well. The other person listened, understood what I was saying, told me like their part, or like how they saw the situation. They saw what I was feeling and why. And it really brought us closer together. And I felt really emotional. I felt like it was actually really beautiful feeling. It was like, oh my god, like we're connected even more than before, because I was so brave and I was so honest and so open. It was kind of scary, but I did it, and everything went super well. And I could absolutely feel like this heaviness was lifted off my shoulders, right? The saying like getting something off your chest is there for a reason. You literally feel lighter, or getting weight off your shoulders, right? Because you're literally going to feel lighter. And it was such a good feeling. And when I shared my problem or what I had to say, like I even, I had a little bit like, shaky voice and a couple of tears because I felt so vulnerable. And it was all worth it. It was totally fine. I'm so glad that I did it. And I was truly so happy of, myself, like sharing this and bringing this up, because I know that this was not what I did in the past. I just wasn't able to do it in the past, and I would always stuff everything in. And that's why one of the reasons why I had this back pain for so long, because I pushed all this stuff down, like hard conversations with anybody. Like I couldn't set any boundaries. I couldn't say what's wrong with me. I would either just keep my mouth shut before, or I would go passive aggressive and like think that the other person has to guess why I'm quiet or why I'm silent and not saying anything, but just like kind of angry at the same time. So the other person like, what is wrong? And I would say nothing, right? So like that kind of passive aggressive behavior is super toxic for myself, like keeping it all in, like pushing more stuff down, like it was not good at all. And of course, for the other person too, they're like, I don't know what's up with her. She says that she's fine. So I guess I'm not going to ask her 10 million more times if she's okay, because she said she's fine, although clearly she's not. And so it's really unfair to keep the other person guessing, like kind of like, oh, you can't guess what's wrong. You can't guess what you did. And a lot of times people don't, like they can't guess. Nobody's a mind reader. Well, some people are, but most people aren't mind readers. They can't tell what's wrong with you. And so if you become passive aggressive like that, instead of bringing the problem up, that's not going to help anybody. And you keeping the stuff in, it's also, like remember the stuff that you don't let out, I talked about, I think in one of the recent episodes, might be the next one, I talk about the instant pot, right? Like there's this pressure that's coming out, like more and more pressure in this pot there, right? This is how your insides are. There's so much pressure in there. So all you have to do is like push the valve to the side. So let the pressure out. And you having hard conversations and expressing what's truly bothering you is one way of releasing that pressure. You have to let it out. I think now it makes so much sense to me, but it didn't before. I was like, what's the connection there? Like, why do I even have to talk about it? Or why should I like express myself? That doesn't make sense. But when I started doing this mind body work and started seeing, and sometimes like direct effects of having a conversation and feeling physically lighter as a result, then I was like, oh, there's something to it. And like I said before, too, like every time you're able to be honest and open and have a normal conversation with another person, you are getting closer to your true self because you're supposed to be like expressive person and talking about what's up, right? You're supposed to want to have your needs met. This is so normal. You're not supposed to push things down and put on this face that everything's all right all the time, while inside you have all this pressure that is now causing you physical sensations and symptoms and pains. So I hope that you found these tips useful today. Have these difficult conversations. It will strengthen your relationship if it's the right relationship. The other person probably can't handle it. Of course, you can always, start kind of like, hey, I love you and I need to bring this thing up with you or something like this. Like, don't be mean, don't be rude, don't be like, like terrible. You're probably not anyway. But if these things help you, just kind of in the beginning of the conversation, you can say something like, there's something that I want to bring up with you. I really love you, and I just, there's something that's been bothering me, and I need to share my thoughts on that. Is that okay? So you can do something like this, and see how it goes, and feel how good you feel afterwards. Like I said, it can be terrifying, it can be anxiety producing, but when you're on the other side of it, you really see the benefits. All right. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'll see you again very soon in the next episode. Take care.